You see, back then, jayhawkers coming in there. You had Cantrell, he was about as bad as the jayhawkers. They burnt buildings after buildings, you know. They were burning courthouses, burning this. Well, I got the Fickus history, and it says that John Adam Fickus and another guy robbed the courthouse, took the records out one night. If the thing burnt, they'd still have it. So they buried the dang thing. But the records today, they don't know who done it. But anyway, the history of the Fickuses said Adam was in on it. They buried those records, and then when the war was over, they reappeared in the courthouse. Now the courthouse they robbed was the old courthouse out there on Main Street. That's the one they robbed. See, the one in Warrensburg wasn't built till 1900, 1990 something was when it was built.
1890 something?
I mean 1800 something. 1890s was in there. So that's what happened to those records.
Who was the very first president that you voted for?
Roosevelt. I didn't have no choice. He was in 3 terms.
Okay. Who was the best one that you feel like that you got the most money for your vote?
Harry Truman,
Did you?
in my opinion.
And you can't include Republicans, but who was the worst one? I'm just kidding.
Well, Bush.
Which one?
H, one now.
The one now?
Yeah. Nixon wasn't too good, but Bush is worst.
I can't argue with you anymore.
Well,
I
well,
would have a long time ago.
I keep reading these books. Old man Bush, he was in everything. The Bush family is very wealthy. And Henry Ford. Hitler started out, he was just a damn bum. And he had a few crazy bastards with him. One of them's damn crazy, he castrated his own self. That slowed him down. He wasn't quite as bad as he was. But anyway, they furnished the money for Hitler to get started in the World War II. That's your big money people. But George W., he was in the CIA, and I don't know what all, and he really got around. But I can't think of what their dad's name was, but he was in the money. He made his big money in bootlegging whiskey into the United States from England. That's where he got his money from, you know. So it comes on down, and then it says, the Bush we got today, he's too dumb to do anything. But you give him an ID, and he can tell you what it is and do it. Somebody has to write his speeches for him. But he ain't got it. He's just simply out. Somebody calls all the shots. Well, I think that's right too, as far as I go. But you know, that's the way I feel about that.
Well, who would you vote for today if the elections was today?
Well, if I'm going to vote today, I'm going to not vote.
Rather not vote.
I think that's the way it's going to be. I would vote for Hillary if she got in, although she's crooked as a barrel of snakes. She got a hell of an education. She might bring us out of it. That's the only thing I can say. Obama don't give me anything. And but Hillary did make one statement. Corey,
Katie Curry.
She said one night, she interviewed all 3 of them. If you just had one thing, what would you do if you was president? Hillary said, I would stop do away with NAFTA, and I'd put an embargo on everything coming in. That's the way this nation used to operate, and it should operate that way again. Now, that's the only damn sense she's ever made since she's been in there. Well, Obama says, I would start new jobs. Now, how are you going to start new jobs when the factory's all overseas? And I don't remember what McCain said. But McCain, I can't vote for him because he's a Jew. And I don't like the Jews. Because the Jews what killed John Kennedy. His dad helped kill John Kennedy, according to Howard Hughes. So, I think this will be a year this old man will lay out and won't vote at all. If Obama goes in, I ain't gonna vote.
But if Hillary makes it,
I will vote for her. Although I know she's crooked as hell.
because then you have to wait 4 more years, because that's what
Huh?
you said all along. You're going to keep kicking until after you get a vote for her. So that
No, I
means
ain't gonna wait 4 years, but I'm either done or ain't gonna be done. So that's the way I go.
What were you doing and where were you at the day that JFK was shot?
Well, I don't know what I was doing. It's pouring down rain. Who did?
JFK.
Oh, it was pouring down rain. And I don't know what I was doing. But I ended up going down to Edgar Schrader's. And I walked in the house and said they killed John Kennedy. And that's all I wrote. But I couldn't tell you what I was doing. But I know it was raining that day. I probably wasn't doing a dang thing.
Well, they're trying to stay dry.
I probably was. So I went down to Edgar's, I know that, but I don't know what I went for. But anyway, I didn't know it till I got down there.
Well, we jumped ahead a little bit and we kind of blended over into some of the Hanley history, but I think that's pretty much where I'm at this point is, I guess, I don't know how far back you know, Hanley history.
Yeah.
Rhonda was wanting to make sure that we got that in as much detail as you can, so just start in wherever you...
Where do you want to start in the Hanleys?
It doesn't matter.
Right in there.
You know the very first one?
Huh?
Do you know the very first one?
First Hanley?
Uh-huh. The one on Noah's Ark?
Well, not that far back. But the first Hanley I knew was Ross Hanley and Lee Hanley. They were brothers. They were John Hanley's boys. And they were first cousin to Will Hanley. Ross Hanley married a Greer girl and lived east of Oak Grove Church. They all went to Oak Grove Church, and I knew them through that, going to church, and their kids. And Lee Hanley later, he had a wife and 2 girls and a boy. The one youngest girl, she had something pretty bad. She finally died. Mother went up there and set up with them several nights. She'd ride a horseback over there and help them out during the night with her. But she finally died. And that's how the first Hanleys I really knew. Well, then the next Hanley I knew was J.C. Hanley. He lived over here close to Gene, and I knew him pretty well. And then the next Hanley I knew was Will Hanley. And we were good friends of the Smars, and they lived where the hog operation is over there today. And we'd visit back and forth. And in fact, they was closest neighbor to my granddad when him and Grandma moved up here. And anyway, we visit back and forth. Well, the old man across the road was Ed Horde. Now, Ed Horde was kin to the Hanleys, some way, I don't know how. And when he died, had 2 old maid sisters, so they moved to Higginsville and rented the place to Will Hanley. Well, they didn't rent it to Will Hanley. They rented it to Melvin Stewart's uncle. I don't know what his name was. Cash rent. That is in 31. And bad year. And he couldn't stand that. So that 1 year is all he had it. So then he went to George Purnell's place. And when he went there, Will Hanley rented the Horde place. Well, he was coming back and forth over there feeding this and that. He'd come over to Spars, and I got to know him. So I knew Will. Well, then as time went on, I told you, I went to Bowman School of Pie Supper. Irene Smar was there, Edith and June. Joe Tigg was there. And he said he wanted to go with the youngest girl, but the old man wouldn't let her go out unless both went out. So I need somebody to date Edith. So he got me to date with Edith, and then I went, when it rained, we didn't go. So then I went the next Sunday over to John Halsman's and made a phone call to him so the girls could get ready. Ms. Halsman, Ori was her name, that's Greta Tigg's mother. She said, now, Elmer, you watch them girls, they talk you into anything. Of course, he ended up getting married. She said, you got you, didn't you? You know, well, I don't know. But anyway, I told you this a while ago, we'll put it on this tape here, that we went to a show in Lexington and come back, and Edith said she enjoyed the evening, and I said so too. Can I come back? Yeah, you can come back. So I knew that night she's going to be my wife if I could convince her. I done fell for her. So time went on, we come around, and well, we got married, and then, well, got acquainted then. Well, first, before I got married, about the third date, I had to go in the house and meet her mother, but I didn't meet Will. I knew Will though anyway. So then on New Year's Eve, they had a supper for Joe and I and Edith and all of it. Adrian Harmon, his wife, she was a Hanley. We all down there, and they had our school teachers, Laura and Les Ivy. So it was just 18 below zero that night. So Adrian come by and got Joe and I, and had a 34 Ford, and run a while and die a while. I had a good battery, we wouldn't have made it home. So we met over there, you know, and then we got to dating more and more all the time, you know. And then, I don't know what you want, I guess I'll put it on this and here, about me asking Edith to get married. Dad said, you better be getting married. That gal will marry you. Oh, I'm sure she'll marry me. So I asked her, that was thrashing on Thursday night, we buried Miss Parker, cousin of Miss Hanley. So, yeah, she'd marry me. And Dad said, when you gonna get married? I said, the 23rd day of August. No, you better marry tomorrow, today. He asked me Saturday morning, you better marry today. So I went over and talked to her, and she agreed to it. So they was cooking dinner down at JC's for the Thrashers, so they sent out to the machine, got Will, he come in, and I asked him for his daughter. Well, that's all right, but I tell you, Lizzie, that other girl, you're gonna have a lot more trouble getting shut of her than you are of this one. So we went and got married, come back, stayed over there all night. And, you know, well, I wasn't, just a day or two, I got acquainted with all the aunts and uncles, you know. Well, that's when I first started knowing the Hanleys. So we started from there then. And, of course, Will, we had a lot of good times together working, especially in the shop. He'd get to talking about this and that. And we talked about his grandfather. He told me that he was in a major in a, he went in the Army under Vermillion. And Vermillion later went under Joseph Shelby. So they hit here, they'd hit and run, what they do, hit and run. That's the way they fought. And they went through the Civil War, and when they got up there at Kansas City, the last battle, Kansas City, I know what it is, but dang, if I can think of what it is, down there in the river bottom. And they got whipped by the Union soldiers, so they broke for south. Started down south, and they outrun the Union soldiers into Texas. And when they got to Texas, they stayed there 2 years. And it's getting too hot to stay there, so they went on into Mexico. Joseph Shelby and all his men. And Hanley didn't have nothing to do, so he took up saddle making. He learned to make saddles. He made saddles. And well, he got a little nervous at that, so he decided to go to California. After he'd been down there 4 years, he went on to California, which was 5 years. He come back from California down there, got a pair of little old Mexican mules and a buckboard and headed north. When he got to Metz, there's a guy wanting to go to California. He traded that pair of Mexican mules and a buckboard for 160 acres of land. Now there was a cabin on it, but most of the houses in western Missouri was burnt down during the Civil War. Now and then there'd be a house left, a cabin or something. So he walked home. While he was walking home, he was thinking, my 2 oldest boys ought to be old enough to herd cattle. I haven't seen them for a long time. So all this open prairie grass down here, a lot of prairie land, grass good, you know. I'm gonna buy cattle and let them herd them. And that's what he did after he come home. And they herded cattle. And that worked pretty good. They loaded them up, they'd bring them to Allville over there, what the boys are farming today, and feed them out. Well, they had to still drive them to Sedalia to get them on the rail, drive them down there. So he said, we need a spur from Sedalia to Lexington. So what they did, he got instrumental and a few helped him. He wanted to bring it by his place. But according to terrain, it's better to go up the creek bottoms to Lexington. Wasn't near as much cutting and digging. So that's why they built a railroad up them streams over there to Lexington. And anyway, then they could load them on. And Allville started up down there. See, he really wanted to come through there by where John Ed's home place was, Freedom. So they had to move Freedom to Allville, which he did. And still the church down there today, the Christian church, set out there where Maggie's got, and they moved it with stump puller down to Allville. And that is just after the Civil War. It's still going. And anyway, well, we need a bank. So him and a few other guys, they got organized and they built a bank in Allville. They built a bank in Allville, and I don't know whether John Campbell was ever president of it or not, I don't remember. But Ed Hanley was president of it, that's Will's dad, for a while. For the Roosevelt shut it down in '33, had a holiday, and it never did open. And Will had his bank account there, so he was out. But to save his hide, Lizzie had just inherited her dad's estate, and they still had it. So they took it to the bank in Higginsville, it opened, and that's what kept him going. Otherwise, he'd have folded up. Was on that account. So, anyway, Will used to tell me stories about him. When he'd come home, his slaves all stayed with him, and he can remember all them hedgerows over there, slaves setting them out and holding them with a garden hoe, when he was a little boy. And anyway, that's how they got started, was setting them out. Now, we had papers here that Will's granddad had, where he traded 5 slaves for 320 acres of ground. That'd be northwest of the Hanley place today. Buck so-and-so give his description and give his age, and that's all the paper had on it. And there's 5 of them. Well, we had water back here in the basement. Sanders cleaning up and burn every damn thing up. I'd have kind of liked to have that kept. You don't believe in things today, but that's the way it happened. Now, John Campbell, his dad come in here and settled first at Wellington. Then he came to down here to Oldville. They told him the best land you find down there. Got big shoemakes, and he looked around. They camped there that night, and he found water. And this is where I'm going to squat. So that's where he stayed. Now he had 2 sons, Sam and something. I don't know which the other name was. But he owned where Phillipses live today, and where they're farming over there where the house burned.
Where's this at? I'm not
Over
sure.
there at John Ed's,
Oh.
where that old house burned. Remember it?
What? No. I know where he lives, but I don't know
Well, south of
where the
where
house
the
was.
new house where J.C. lived. Bob lives now. And the one that lived where John Ed's got now, he died. And he had, I think it's 3 girls, I believe, or maybe 4, I don't know which it was. So, brother John Campbell, he hadn't never come west. He was ill in North Carolina, no, Virginia. He come from Virginia here and married a widow. And then I think they had about 7 more. That's the boys that's in Metz, that area. And the one that where Phillips lived, he didn't have any children. So then they jerked up stakes and a lot more Hanleys up at Sibley and Wellington than anywhere. So they moved up there. Well, then they had down there west of Phillips's on the road going south. They got it tore up there now. Was a cousin to him. And he had a big family. And I don't know what his name was, but they called him Potato Hanley. And he left there and went over the Missouri River and raised potatoes up west of Lexington. That's where he come from. Well, then, you see, you had John Campbell's oldest boys, you see, Sam and Bob, was down there at Metz. Well, when Edith and I got married, shortly after we got married, Jean wasn't born yet. Bob Hanley's widow died. Now, he was married twice, Bob Hanley was. And we took Will and Lizzie down there to the funeral that day. Well, Sam Hanley had to be a grandson of Bob Hanley. His dad was Sam. Bob stayed there in Missouri, and Sam, when they got married, Sam and his wife went to Texas. I don't know what the town there was, but it's in the Red River Valley. And he lived down there. And then, anyway, his dad come up, I mean, the one that went there, he come back to visit his brother up here, Ed, Will's dad, horseback. So when he got ready to leave, he went down the cellar and got some potatoes, put them in his saddlebag. But he went out to the cottonwood tree out there in the lot, broke off twigs stuck in every potato, one twig in every potato. Put them in his saddlebag. When he got down there, he set them out and watered them. And that's how the cottonwoods got in the River Valley in Texas. He carried them down there on horseback. They didn't have nothing but shade for their hogs. All they had was God damn, I can't think what the hell I want to say. The weed. God damn it. Jimson weeds. Jimson weeds for shade. That's all he had. There wasn't no trees anywhere. So then when I went to the funeral that day, his son was up there to his grandmother's, let's see, no, it'd been his mother's, it'd be his aunt's funeral, that's what it was. And he was talking about the Snybar farms up here at Green Valley. A man by the name of Batman lived in Flexus. Well, he was wanting to get something better than what he had. He got in contact with a realtor, and Green Valley, the man had died or something, so they're having a sale. And they told him, now this ground up here grows good bluegrass, and you can pass your cattle on it the year round. So he bought it. He come back and told Sam. Sam said, I've been to Missouri enough that I know it'll cover it plumb up and you'll never see it till the next spring. Well, he didn't know it. Well, he bought the farm. And then that very winter, it was covered up with snow and he never ate no grass. He found out what he's talking about. Batman was a fine old man. I met the old man. And anyway, that's what the analyst told him to say. So that's, I don't know what else you'd say about it, but.
How many brothers and sisters did Granddad have?
There's 13 children. There was 4 boys. One girl died young. She ate pokeberries. They poisoned her. She wasn't 3 or 4 years old.
Are those things still around now?
Huh?
Are those berries still around now?
Oh yeah. Will, he was shit, by God, hell, he couldn't hardly go it, but he does like the greens from it. But the berries are poisonous. And she ate them, and that's what they had. But you see, Will was the oldest, then Betty, then the one that died, and then I think you come in and one was Ruth, I believe. And then I think you come in maybe with Joe. I can't tell you exactly what they was. And, but JC, he was the youngest. And you see, Elsie and Jimmy, they studied to be nurses. And Dr. Parker, of course, was a cousin of Grandma Hanley. His wife was bad, so he got them girls to take care of her, day and night. And she said, Doc, when I'm gone and you get married, I want you to marry one of these girls. So he swore he would. So he married Jimmy. He didn't marry till after Edith and I got married, about the same year, I think. So, but Jimmy, she had TB when she was a young girl out of high school, and he doctored her and she got well.
Now, is she the one that was like a missionary or something?
No, that is Marie.
Marie, okay.
Marie was a missionary. And she left here in '36 and went to Hawaii. She only had about a dozen people, wasn't very many, in the church out there. It's, well, I don't know, that church up there in Independence, I don't know what the hell it is, what she was with.
RLDS?
No, that ain't it. There on 50 highway, you're going in, on the east side of the road, north side of. Well, you see, Joe Hanley married Lucy Anderson, and she ended up with TB. And she wasn't doing no good. So she moved to Montana. So old man Ed Hanley, Will's dad, sent him out there to build my house and a barn. So he went out there and built a house and barn for him. And she went out there and lived in that country, and she got all right. Now that's the girl that comes to her. I can't think what her name is now. Joe had a granddaughter, but I mean Joe, yeah, it'd be Joe's granddaughter. He had a boy, OV, and a daughter. I don't know what her name was. I never met either one of them. But Joe Hanley went out there. Of course, coal wasn't very deep in the ground, and they were stripping coal. So he put off a charge of dynamite, and it didn't go off. So we went up to see why it didn't go off. It went off. Well, I don't know whether it killed him outright or whether he died later. I don't know which. Out there. So then Lucy stayed out there with the two kids, and Joe got married, and OV got married, and I don't know what he had. I think he just had two girls, I believe. Anyway, one comes to the Union every time. I forget what her name was. Her husband, they live out there at Topeka. He's in the grocery store business, or was.
Rhonda could probably tell you.
Well, yeah, I know her name, but I don't know. Oh, they had a kid or two of their own. Adopted a whole bunch. They raised a whole bunch of kids in their lifetime. Damn, I can't think of her name. I don't know what else to tell you.
Anything stands out in your mind about her?
Huh?
I'm just trying to think of if there's any kind of clues or descriptions you can give to try to remember who she is.
Well, it's a right nice looking girl, black-headed, pretty chunky.
She's still alive?
Yeah.
Well, what happens if she sees this and she says, "Oh, I ain't chunky"?
Well, I don't know. You might not like that.
Was there one of them that went out west or something, and then?
Well, my granddad was named after him, and Charlie Allen had a boy. He named him Hartley, as George Hartley. So granddad got one, and Charlie's boy got one. His name's.
Wasn't there one of Granddad's brothers that went out and never came back? Maybe the wife went out there too, and she never came back, and then they.
Well, they went to Montana. Joe did. That's Will's brother and his wife. I think they come back and visited a little bit, but they never stayed very long. Now Ruth, she married Vernon Lewis, and they homesteaded in Oklahoma. Well, the damn dust storms and all, they lost that, come back here and lived a year or two. Went back, they picked up a homestead 2 or 3 times. I don't know how long it really was. And the last homestead he picked up, they drilled for water and got gas or something. And that kind of solved some of the problem. The gas wells. Now, I was out there last fall to the last homestead Vernon was on. They still got it in the family.
And who has that?
Huh?
Who has that?
Well,
Stevens?
Bill Lewis.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
See, they're just a half a mile south of the Kansas line, out there in the Panhandle. Hugerton's north of them, and then the oldest Lewis girl, she married oh, can't think of what his name is now. He's in bad shape, 90-some years old. Wasn't but 2 or 3 miles north of him, but he was in Kansas. Then he sold out. The boys didn't want to farm. Well, he sold out and went into Hugerton. He's living in Hugerton.
I don't know why I was thinking that there was somebody that went out there and then
Didn't come back.
and never came back, and then the wife went out looking for him and never came back, and it seemed like there was a daughter and a son that inherited.
I don't know. I don't think that was in the Hanleys.
Okay, it may not have been.
I just don't remember anything like that.
Well, I didn't go all the way through the tape, so there may be some more stuff on there. I just need to watch further and see where we're at. But let's see. Well, I don't know if this. I'll have to have Ron to look at this and see if this is in depth enough. But I just wanted to probably switch to this time to see how we're related to the Stevens.
To who?
The Stevens.
Well, first place we say they ain't kin.
They say that, or we say that?
The Hanleys.
Well,
But
they're not listening. They got their hands over there, so go ahead.
The first I knew about it, Bob Collins, a friend of mine, his dad took a mare to John Hanley's. John Hanley was a brother to Ed Hanley, and to breed the horse, or Jack or something. Well, he went along, little kid. So they rented. How's Aunt so-and-so, and how's this and that, and well, on the way back, he said, we're kin to them. But Will's mentioned something to it about, oh, well, no, goddamn we ain't. But the blacks all say we are, and that's all I can say. But anyway, they were one girl. She had a girl, and it's supposed to have been John Campbell's, and she married a Johnson. And Johnson moved over to, see, Johnson's was slaves of Hanley's. But then they moved to Mount Holly later years, the next generation. So then you had Stevens, his mother was one of the kin, Johnson girl, and her husband died, he was a Collins, so she married Stevens. That's where John comes in. See, the next thing, and he was a half brother to Bob Collins. And then Bill Collins down here, his wife was a Johnson. And that made preaching all them kin to the boys.
Okay.
But they all say they're kin, I don't know. That's how we come.
So it's John Stevens' mom is the link.
Huh?
John Stevens' mom, she's the link.
She was the one.
And
She'd be a granddaughter of John Campbell.
this is why I wish Ron was here, because she can keep those things straighter in her head. But who is John Campbell again related to Will?
To who? Will? He was his granddad,
Campbell was Will's.
Will's granddad,
Okay.
and Edith's great granddad.
Okay, so then they were already in the mix before it got to Will then.
Yeah,
So this was like great. How many greats are we talking here? The Campbell guy.
well, let's see. Edith be great. No, let's see. No, Edith was great. Gina be great. Rhonda be great. 3 greats.
I don't know if Rhonda ever told you about, we went over to Stephen's house and there's a picture of, I think, his mom, John's mom,
Yeah,
and I think she looked an awful lot like Rebecca Bell does. At least that's what Rhonda thought.
what you thought? Well,
She's a pretty gal.
you take John Campbell's hanging right in there. Picture. Now I'll tell you, Bill Collins, man, he favored him a lot. He had a small head, and he wasn't a very big man either. And but I don't know. But that happened, over the years. But then we had another one, which is, you got that turned on?
No, it's on.
Well,
You need it off?
I don't know. But if we're talking about being mixed up, we had down the line here a man named Collins, white man. And the Smars that I was talking about, the old Smars, age of my grandparents, Dad was a Collins, and he married a Greer girl. Greer's first homesteaded down their bottom down here, wasn't too far apart. Well, Collins, the war broke out, he was in the Confederate Army. He had slaves, but he also had a son. And his son, there was no doubt about it, the woman I'm talking about, she had a brother, and he was a perfect image of the black boy he had. And tight as hell. He was got along great, and that's the one that's kin to the Ellsworth Collinses, the one down here on the corner. Now he went by the name of Dick Duncan. Well, Dick Duncan, well, he was a pretty stout little man. And when Dad was going to high school, he'd meet him down here at the corner. He said, Elmer, I'd like to ride with you to town. Well, grab a hold, Dick. Well, he wrapped his hand, half his springs on the saddle around his hand. And Dad had a walking horse. He walked right on into Orangeburg. And it just helped him along enough, he wouldn't even draw a long breath time he get to town. Run the side of that horse. And that's the constitution that guy had. Well, he worked my granddad for off and on for years. And Granddad when he worked for Johnny Greer, he got in Galloway cattle business. So Granddad had Galloway cattle. So he had a young Galloway bull. That lower barn over there at Benny's, he'd send Dick down to feed the cattle. Cattle and hogs. Well, this bull would come up out in the pasture. They'd go, brrr. He'd butt the bull through the fence. Yeah. Dick, you better quit that. That bull will never feed. Oh, that bull, forget it. He was having fun with that bull. Well, that bull grew up when he lived down here on the corner, and he'd stay down here and then walk up to Granddad's every day. When he'd leave home, he'd start singing. I guess he could sing like nobody's business. That bull, goddamn, he meet him over at the corner of the pasture, make him walk plumb around the pasture up to the house. So, had a long, tall one lived here on the corner. They all died of typhoid out of the damn well down there. And they finally moved the house up here where Crockett's is. And Crockett's house burned down. They had a nice house. They went to town. Neighbors helped them move that up there. But the Browns all died. And this Brown, he was a long, tall guy. And Dad and him was finishing up stacking hay. Granddad was road overseer in this district. So he was working on the road. So Brown and Dick and Dad was going to finish stacking hay that day. So they got on the wagon halfway across the pasture, and Brown said, "Dick, I forgot them pitchforks." Oh, them all up the way. He was a good worker. He was running to go to the house. And that bull, he heard that bull beller. Boy, he come back to the wagon out of nothing. Brown wanted to catch him out there in the middle. But he made it back to the wagon before the bull did. Then they had to go back and get the forks, you know. But anyway, the guy that was in the mule business with folks, Bill Poe, he farmed right up here in front of Dicey's. Well, he thrashed over on the west side of the farm and made a straw shed. Them days you put up some posts and so then it's open, the cattle go in there out of the weather. So they carried the wheat in there in grain sacks when they got done thrashing and just left it lay there till they plowed the wheat ground. They plowed the wheat ground and went to haul it off, and it's short 2 sacks. Well, old man Paul walking around, there's a tractor coming in, tracks going out. Now, there ain't but one man that can carry 2 sacks of wheat. That'd be 240 pounds. So he took his wheat on to town, got on his saddle horse and rode down to Dick. "Dick, where's that wheat at?" "Up in the attic." He went and got it. "Dick, where's that other sack?" "It's up in the attic." Boss, I didn't think you'd miss both of them. Did you carry them both at the same time?" "Yep, I carried them both at the same time, and I thought you'd say I got 1 sack." I believe I'd have given him a damn sack. Hell, they didn't get no pay. No wonder they had to steal. So, you know, that's the way that things go.
Well, who is the, I'm not sure Rhonda could tell me this, but there is a black gal that has red hair, and I think Rhonda and her refer to each other as cousins. And I can't remember, seemed like they
I don't know who it'd be.
used to come over here and sneak stuff.
Done what?
They used to sneak stuff, like, I don't know,
Well, they,
out of the cellar or something, or,
I don't know whether they did all, they probably did. That was Bob Collins' daughter. He had 5 daughters.
that's probably who it
And
was.
they'd help them all. Well, all of them would go with the old lady to help them all. While they was playing around, they'd slip down the cellar and get some fruit out. Meat or whatever the hell's canned up. Pack it off, you know. I don't really blame them for stealing. But Dorothy, Marie, I talk to her once in a while. She's much like her daddy, goddamn. Hear her all over town. Jolly,
Now, is it, you're talking about one of Robert's daughters?
yeah. But ain't none of them red-headed, unless they had it dyed.
Well, I'm not sure.
They might have had it dyed, don't tell
Well,
me.
this girl had real red hair, and it used to embarrass her. And the last time I seen her, it was colored. It was brown or some other color, but it used to bother her when she was a little girl that she had red hair and nobody else.
Well, it wouldn't have been his daughter. I don't know whose daughter it'd be. I never knew of any red-headed ones. Now, we had a red-eyed blue one. She come out of Kansas City, lived over here south of Rick's, on the west side of the road. They was here in the 30s. She had pretty blue eyes, god damn it. Red hair, and I don't think it's dyed her damn thing. Seemed like it might have been something wrong there.
And this girl's probably about Rhonda's age. She's, I mean, there's
Well,
not that
Bob's
much.
would have been all been older than her. I don't know. They might have been some in there. I don't remember who it would be. Okay. Well, you see, Ms. Hanley, her dad was George Helt. His daddy was Charlie Helt. Now there's Charlie Helt and Harm Helt come here from Germany. And, but George Helt's dad was Charlie Helt, and he had a boy, let's see, he had Billy Helt, Jimmy Helt, and George Helt. I don't think there's any more boys. But on the women, one of them married a Presley, Martha. One of them married a Canoy, Aunt Sarah Canoy. One of them was named Jenny. She married Dave Bratton. There was one that married Billy Stigton, woman. I don't know whether I've named all of them or not. And you see, Edith's granddad, Boyd's farming ground over there, and he married a Walker, who he married. And last time John Campbell got married, his last wife was Walker too. And but anyway, she died, and she had Lizzie and John, Charlie, Anna, and Vernon was the kids. And anyway, she had twins. Well, Grandma Hanley is over there trying to help. And she had old Doc Webb out of Higginsville. And Grandma said, Doc, that woman is stubborn. You better take them babies. All let nature take its course. Well, nature took its course. Finally, she had the babies. She died. And the two girls, they put the aunts took them. I mean, George's sister took them. Miss Canoy took one, St. Sarah Canoy, and I don't know who took the other. But they wanted Dave Bratton's wife to take one. And he wouldn't let her take it. Well, they lived about a week, 10 days, something. They both died. That is in Lizzie's family.
Well, the Bratton. Now this is, how is this related to the Bratton that has the mower shop over in Higginsville?
Yeah, you see, his grandmother was a Helt.
The guy up in Higginsville?
Yeah,
His grandmother, okay.
his was Jenny Bratton. But she had the craziest husband you ever seen.
I never seen him.
He was opposite anything anybody wanted to do. And, you know, he'd have been a lot better neighbor if he'd kind of went along, but you know. But Dave Bratton, had, he moved in and settled on the place he's on over there, yet today. And Simpson moved here from Kentucky. He brought a whole bunch of slaves with him. Well, after he got here, he had a sale and sold a lot of them off. I'm kind of getting out of the way here. But when he sold them off, he sold a boy, a young boy. When he's done sold him, he give him $5. Said, I'm your dad. And he sold him to a man named Peppers. And Peppers freed him when the war was over. But Simpson bought all the ground that hadn't been homesteaded before the Civil War, 10 cents an acre. So Dave Bratton moved in. He had so much land he didn't check it. He didn't see it. Time he checked that, he had a cabin built. He'd been there 5 years. Even though the government had sold it to Simpson, the Homestead Act held up. So he homesteaded that. And that's what the will, the one that's got it now said, the abstractor says that he homesteaded it.
The one with the lawnmowers?
Yeah.
Right there where that shop's at?
Huh?
The same spot where that shop is at now?
Yeah, where right now,
Huh.
you see, the Brattons stayed there. They died. They had one of the girls married a divisor. He died before her son was born. So she moved back home. She was gone a year. Her brother went and helped her that year. So she went back home. Well, when he died, he married another woman, and she left it to her children, a boy and a girl. And the girl is Kaiser. And they live right there north of Leroy's, Jones, in that house back up in the field. And that's the Bratton place. And anyway, that's where they are. But what I was going to say about give that boy that $5, the war was over, and he give him what Lloyd has today down here at the end of the road, 100 and some acres. Now that is in timber. That guy whittled out that timber, sawed it out, built a house, barn, and raised 4 or 5 boys. And he was a businessman. But none of the boys turned out to be as good as he was for his managing. Now he picked that up from Simpson, no doubt. Well, Simpson then, see, he had where John Sarton was, and they come here in 1835. And Robinsons lived here in 1835.
On this spot
Right here. They built a log house. And then where Charlie Reynolds lived, south of the fire station, that is another Robinson, brother to the one here. And they built a log house. Where Davis Lee Dennis lived, Charlie Canoy place, that was built the same year. It is a log house. Now it's still got one room in it, log house. They built it all the way around it.
Now, where's this at?
Well, it's down there, you know where the cemetery is down there?
By Baines?
Yeah,
Okay,
right across the road,
okay.
right across the road. That's where it is.
So that's got a room that's,
Huh?
so that has a room in it that was log cabin that was
Still log.
original.
Still
Huh.
log.
That's interesting.
You see, my house here was a log house, but they didn't have no rocks under the foundation. They just rot and go down. Well, Jones is all short people. Saw the door off, it shut and opened shut. Saw it off again, you know. Well, I couldn't stand up in the house, I was too tall. So I tore it down. I got a lot of good lumber out of it.
That was the one that sat here
Yeah.
before. Was that the one that was here while you were building this one, or was that even way
head of
before that?
Head of that. The one that sat here was up on the hill east, and I moved it down here.
How far east?
All about halfway up that hill. And you see, oh well, what do I want to say? Oh, I tore that house down. Boy, you had to take one log at a time off. And I got a lot of good walnut lumber, 3x12s, 20 feet long. and the walnut floor upstairs planed on both sides, but the floor on the ground was logs laid down with white oak flooring planed on one side, 6-inch boards. Well, I put all that in the barn over there, my granddad's. Lightning hit it and burned it up. That's when it burnt the tractor up, burned all that lumber up. And so I don't know what you'd say.
Well, I think this tape is over.
Huh?